Picture this. It's the early 2010s, and you are deeply entrenched in the online fandom for My Little Pony. Fans, bronies, Pegasisters, kids who made one wrong Google search were treated to all kinds of online pony content. That is to say, the fandom was pretty well fed. Tons of recognizable creators got their start here, and I've gone over enough to the point where doing this whole intro thing is honestly getting redundant. That being said, there's one creator who I haven't covered in any of these videos yet. That is FimFlamPhilosophy, aka FimFlamPhilosophy, aka Greg and his team. A pretty long name, I know. Now, they've brought people some pretty recognizable pony content. If you recognize this art style, you probably know what I'm talking about. Now, I never actually watched any of these videos, but trust me, they made a big impact on the fandom and were really popular. Watching now, I see why people enjoy the videos from this channel. They've got a fun sense of humor that falls in line with a lot of other MLP parodies. The art style is cute, and overall, you see so much improvement from the early videos to the most recent. But, like many brony channels, not everything is sunshine and rainbows. Today, we're going to be talking about the rise and fall of FimFlamPhilosophy. It's a bit hard to really find an origin for the channel. According to the My Little Pony fan labor wiki, the channel started after Greg, the writer, voice actor, and main player, left the project of another MLP parody series. Take that with a grain of salt though, because sometimes the people on the wiki do this funny little gag called not citing their information. In May 2011, the channel would upload the first video in My Little Pony, the Mentally Advanced series. Now this was a parody that took episodes from the real My Little Pony show and replaced the dialogue. People usually call this kind of thing an abridged series, but when it's ponies, people always like to just call it a parody. Another one of these is Friendship is Witchcraft, which I talked about in a video not too long ago. In that sense, the Mentally Advanced series not only has a lot in common with FIW, but a lot of other pony parodies in general. At this point, how many of these just have their own twisted version of the main six and friends? It's not as gimmicky as something like FIW or even the Pony.Mov series by Hot Diggity Demon. There sure is a difference between the characters in this and the characters in the canon show. If you'll notice, all the Mentally Advanced episodes are only around 7 minutes long. Instead of following the plots of the episodes the whole way, they just sort of stop around 1/3 through the story. It's really funny in a way I can't describe. Take the Slumber Party one for example, where instead of spending the night and getting along, Applejack and Rarity just get fed up and leave. It's that kind of humor. Now if we're going to talk about the Mentally Advanced series, we're also going to have to talk about its arguably more popular spin-off, Rainbow Dash Presents. Now, each character in the Mentally Advanced series has their own thing going on. Rainbow Dash is the designated silly one, and apparently was so popular that she got her own spin-off, where she narrates well-known MLP fanfics. Like I said before, arguably this is the most well-known work by the team. And yes, I say team. Besides Greg, who voiced characters like Twilight and Rainbow, you have additional voice actors like Dracker Zod, who did Sweetie Belle, and Petarep, the main artist. The art style here is instantly recognizable, with the big, simple-looking eyes. Also, the way they draw Rainbow Dash with the off-model color scheme, or at least it looks off-model on my monitor. After giving RDP a watch, I gotta say, they're pretty enjoyable. They start off kinda rough. The early episodes have limited art and don't change the story around too much. The Cupcakes one is where they start to find their footing, since the whole thing is about how Pinkie Pie doesn't get to cut up Rainbow Dash and just keeps getting interrupted. Like Mentally Advanced, they usually add twists to the stories. Not sure if you can use parody as a verb, but that's what they do. They parody them. And they really hold up, as someone who's read most of these stories. For a few, I'd say it's better if you know the fanfic they're parodying. I don't think the Rainbow Factory or My Little Dashy ones would be as good if you didn't get what they were making fun of. I also like the more absurdist jokes they go for. It's very well rounded. Overall, the work here has aged surprisingly good, just because the writing has thought put into it. I'm not gonna say it holds up perfectly though. You can tell it was made in the early 2010s on the internet. Some bits would not fly today, like especially in My Little Dashy. And while we're on the subject of Rainbow Dash Presents, I also gotta talk about the songs. They're not in every episode, but they always have an impact. Another compliment to give is that they all help to advance the story in each episode. Yeah, see, thought put into it. Now, Sinking Ships is really fun. I honestly wish I could have ranked it higher on my list of the top 100 brony songs. If you remember that one, you're an OG. The one in the Rainbow Factory episode actually was supposed to have people from the Friendship is Witchcraft crew doing voices, but the two teams had a falling out. That would have actually been so cool though. These two are so similar, a crossover seems like something that would have been inevitable. My Little Dashy has this song called Tubby Wubby Pony Waifu, It's not my personal favorite, but is notable because it uses the same samples as a track by rap artist Lil Uzi Vert. I'd say take a listen, but you know how YouTube is, so I'll link it in the description. From what I've looked up, I couldn't find any confirmation that this was done on purpose as a reference to Rainbow Dash Presents. As much as I'd love to sit here and tell you guys that Lil Uzi and or his producer is secretly a brony, I just can't in good faith. I've mentioned this in a previous video, but in 2012, there was an album released called Coal-Powered Cookie Train that tied into the larger Mentally Advanced cinematic universe. It had a promo video which, for a long time, was actually lost media. Yeah, not the album, just the promo video. In fact, it was found last September. Now, in 2012 and 2013, FimFlamPhilosophy was riding high. Mentally Advanced series and Rainbow Dash Presents were significantly popular, even getting on some of the top 10 Pony Video of the Month compilations. And you know, as a brony, you've made it when you get on there, but like many other brony creations, not all was well. If we've seen this story once, we've seen it 100 times. In early 2013, YouTube's copyright bots would take down several episodes of the Mentally Advanced series, which at the time used footage from Friendship is Magic. From then on, the show would also have to be hosted on the FimFlamPhilosophy website, which was later renamed to Dawn Somewhere, along with the channel. Fun fact, there was so much traffic to this website when the episodes were first uploaded that it literally crashed because of all the people coming to watch. Now, YouTube struck again in 2014, and the team decided to revamp the Mentally Advanced series, with new art that would replace the actual episode footage. The team stayed together, but like most MLP creators from the time, started to drift off to other fandoms before falling into obscurity. The final episode of Rainbow Dash Presents was The Star in Yellow, released in 2015. The art in this is downright beautiful, like look at it, compared to the first one from 2011 where it's just characters on a white background. Now there was an attempt at an Equestria Girls type series or movie which would have tied into RDP called Equestria Primates, but that was cancelled a bit after it was announced. Another FIW parallel where they were going to adapt the first EG movie but stopped 2 episodes in. Later, Greg would launch the Nepotism Adventure series, which is all about Twilight being a princess. I'm not so sure about this one. I think I personally liked it better when they were basing it off other things, because I feel like they're trying way too hard with the stories to have LOL epic political commentary. It's still the same sense of humor though, and the art style, while different, is really good. It's full animation this time around, and the models are cute. From my research, it doesn't seem like the team had any big falling out or controversy, and the channel today hosts some random content from Greg and friends. Peterup seems to have moved on to other art, and again, you can see a lot of improvement in his recent works. He'd go on to make art for Monster Cat and some other EDM artists. Everyone involved seems to be, according to my research, doing okay or at least well adjusted. Unlike some other brony projects, I didn't come across any stories of team members burning down orphanages or kicking puppies for fun. The story of FimPhilosophy, in that sense, is a boring one, but they did leave behind a nice little legacy. With a lot of older pony stuff I've covered, there's usually this air of nostalgia when I go to revisit them. Not this, since I just wasn't in the loop, but even though I didn't have any memories with them, I think Mentally Advanced series and RDP hold up pretty well. I wouldn't call them timeless, but they don't feel as old as something like the Sonic vs. Rainbow Dash fights, or even the original Bride of Discord, which came out late 2013. Rainbow Dash Presents, I think I liked even more now than I would have back then. It makes fun of these old fanfics, kind of in the same way people do now, and because of that, I honestly recommend it, especially the Rainbow Factory one, it's my favorite. Now, thanks for sticking through to the end. As always, don't forget to like, subscribe, and click that notification bell so that you don't miss out on any new videos. Follow me on my socials linked in the description, and consider supporting me by becoming a member or joining my Patreon. A special shout out to those guys. I've got Frostbite, Kaylee Lahota, Rosa, Grimamerk, Shadewalker, Knife Girl, The Blazing Pegasus, Technicolor, Jack Getchman, Paisley, Trixie Best, No Yak Best, Olive, SR Nano, Allison Madden, Johnny Punchfist, A Kawaii Dragon, Keaton Cryer, Cascadiarch, Bad Bessie, Damian, Marshmallow, and Goose Nerd. I can't think of a better outro, so until next time, goodbye.